Sort of, kind of, in the way that the brain of Morbius was taking cues, well, yeah, more than cues from Frankenstein. The Seeds of Doom more or less takes from The Thing, not the John Carpenter version because it hadn't happened yet, but the original movie, but even more to the point, the original story, which is who goes there. Actually, I believe, I think it was the BBC did a radio play version of that, and you can probably find it around, and it's pretty good. It's very well done. So there, a lot of it, even with the original story, where it being more of a plant-like creature, in the movie anyway, it was actually James Arness. But that idea. And landing somewhere in the frozen wastelands of Antarctica and being discovered, and then everything goes to hell. Well, that's the situation you have. It's also a unit episode, still there, just nobody left, just the Doctor and Sarah, and a brief few scenes shot in an office. There's no Brigadier. He's still in Geneva, apparently. It's kind of sad they didn't get a good send off of that. They just never really did it, and I don't know why that didn't happen. But I guess at that point, Nicholas Courtney was just not available anymore, or no longer called or anything, and they were just using anybody probably was cheaper than paying him. Who knows? But the Brigadier is just written out of it. And but you had the story that he easily could have been there, especially at the end, and probably would have really appreciated that the Doctor actually orders an airstrike to as the solution to this thing. Ultimately, another element is sort of like James Bond. I mean, you have obviously this thug and there's Scorby character involved in this, but he's working for a guy who comes across kind of like a Bond villain. He's this wealthy, crazy idiot who has this bizarre obsession with plant life and whatnot. And when he finds out about this, with a corrupt man within the government reveals this to him for some little money under the table, he gets his hands on this pod. Now, initially, you have the Thing version of the story where the Doctor and Sarah are at the base in Antarctica, and they foolishly have this pod in there, and it attacks one of the crewmen at the base, and he's infected with it, and it takes over his body, and he turns into the Swamp Thing. Yes, that's pretty much what he looks like. Either that or a really ugly Jolly Green Giant. Green Giant. And everything goes to hell. The thugs show up. They're after a second pod that the Doctor had found, and they manage to steal that one. And they make their getaway. They blow up the base, and I guess that's the end of the first Vegetable Man, but who's to say he didn't just freeze in there and is still there, Because they're called crinoids, and the Doctor is aware of them. This could have been a recurring menace that could happen again. And it's kind of an interesting idea. Just things, life forms from outer space could come in the form of some kind of microbes or whatnot, a virus, if you will, stuff like that. And it's quite a good science fiction template to exploit for story here. And so that's really good. And so, of course, they got to chase the pod back to this criminal. They have to do some investigating here and there. And a lot of this is reminiscent of Pertwee's story. So it's quite the unit story. And also, the Doctor's involved in quite a few physical entanglements. Some fisticuffs take place here. And it's not a double or anything. I'm sure it's a stuntman or whatnot, but I mean, not like in the android story where it turned out to be the android doing all the fighting. So there's a lot. He even goes full Batman when he has to rescue Sarah. He smashes through a skylight, and lands on them and everything. And so Scorby's a good character, and he gets what's coming to him. It's kind of some funny back and forth there, but he's also a menacing guy because he's just a hired gun. And in the end, he just gets drowned by the plants. And pretty much as he freaks out, he can handle things that he could shoot at, but he couldn't shoot his way out of this one. And he panics and goes down ultimately a coward's death and all that. But the villain here, the crazy wealthy man who wants the pod just because he's one of those guys who just would probably, would pay someone to steal the Mona Lisa and replace it with a fake just so he could have it in his little basement gallery, And who's to say it didn't happen, But in this case, he wants this pod that could just wipe out all human life, and he's fine with that. For whatever reason, maybe there really was a connection between him and the creature. The creature ultimately one of his underlings is infected by it, and he's begging for help. He won't do it, and he ends up turning into the creature. And I guess there was, because the creature is killing people left and right, but it doesn't kill him. It leaves him there, and he believes he's part of this plant revolution and all that stuff. Plus, he's got this ginormous grinder. Must have been grinding up other people that he didn't care for. He throws the doctor in there. He throws Sarah in there. One of the guards or the soldiers gets tossed in there. Well, that's that. And all of this to feed his garden. Yes. Jeez. So, but ultimately, that's how he meets his end, and it's a well-deserved end to a really creepy guy, and well played. Yeah, it's a good romp for it. I don't know that it needed to be 6 parts long, but I guess so. I don't think it feels dragging on or anything. The effects are what they are. There's even, it looks to me like some stop motion animation, maybe not, or maybe, but when the creature's really large and it's over, and it's a model of the mansion and whatnot. But ultimately, has to be blown up. The jets fly in and take it out. Which again, it's just too bad Brigadier wasn't there, because the doctor himself says, "Yeah, you're gonna have to blow this one up." So, yeah, this is something that could have been revisited. I don't know, maybe novels, comic books, and Big Finish did. I don't know, but it could have been. At this point, don't care if it is, because the doctor is not anymore. So, all well and good. After all's said and done, the doctor decides, well, he needs a vacation, so he and this is his only time. Well, I guess the android invasion counts. He hasn't been back to work lately. So he does this one. And so he and Sarah take off. They're going to go on this tropical adventure, but they end up back at Antarctica. She says, "Oh, you forgot the TARDIS was preset to go there," which is odd because he didn't take the TARDIS to Antarctica. He flew there on a plane. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe he thought initially he would do it and then just decided, you know what, we'll go on the plane. You could finagle that in the sense that they were traveling in the TARDIS and the Time Lords manipulated it and sent him off to Karn, so he figured, let's take a break from that for a while. But then he ends up accidentally sending himself again. So they have a little joke there at the end over that. But, well, there you go. So, Seeds of Doom, a Doctor Who classic from classic Doctor Who. Yes, borrowing from other sources, but putting it together and making it its own. Yeah. All right. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you. Most notably my comic book Night over at indieplanet.com. You can also catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on radiomisfits.com. And yes, you can also watch my videos over at BitChute.com.